This is what we've been doing with the steps. To make it as simple as possible, create a landing. This is at the bottom, right there on the left. And then wherever I want to step, I just place a log there. I set it where I want it. I bang 2 dowels into the ground, set the log on those dowels. Once that log's there, then I drag the dirt above it onto the log, flatten it out, bang, set another step right there, and continue the process. And I just wanted to show you. And this step's a little strange right here because I wanted to incorporate that rock into our step, because we've been stepping on that rock every single time we came down these stairs. So I wanted to use the rock. So continuing up right here, this is where I am. I just placed this log, put it on there, and then I said, okay, I want another step right there. And I haven't done anything after this point. So I placed this log here. And I'm going to try to set up the camera to show you what I'm doing. I'll just do it right now real quick, and then I'll try to set it up. You can watch. So I'm just taking a hoe, and I'm notching out right there, and I'm just trying to pull all this dirt down into this little section. That's all I'm doing. And I want to make that, when someone steps off the step here, flat. Right there. And that's all I'm doing. If I have rocks, and I have a lot of rocks down this hill for some reason, I've been taking a lot of these rocks, see right here, and instead of requiring a bunch of dirt, rocks are actually a lot better fill, because it doesn't fall in when it rains. So I've been dragging rocks into here. They don't stand out above the hill. So like this rock, I'm probably going to pick up that rock right there. And so we've just been filling in. That's all I've been doing. So I'm going to set this up here and see if we can continue along. And I can show you a step made. And hopefully this is going to work this way. So what I've done, I laid step right here, put a step here where I want it. Now that I know that's in, I took and I banged dowels in here pretty far, and that's a pretty big one. Those are solid. This thing is not going to go very far. Now that I have that there, I just have to fill in this step. And what I prefer to do first is find some rocks and fill in kind of the big chunks. Once I fill that in a little bit, and that rock's handy. I don't know why, that rock's handy. So I fill in. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's what I've done. And then all I do is I take this dirt. Sometimes I have to use a shovel. In this particular case, I'm using a hoe, and it seems to be working okay. Oh crap, just missed and hit the dowel. What I really want is to make sure that when people step off of this step, they come and they land on either a very nice flat surface here or even a slightly curved, so that the foot feels safe, like it's not going to slide down. If it's slanted at all, people will step off of here as they're going down the hill, land, and just slip on the dirt. And we don't want that. So here I am. I'm just making this as flat as possible, putting it onto the rocks, right into this little place, and then I just stamp it down. And when it rains, which it will eventually, it really washes out all the air bubbles, so to speak, and makes it even more solid. But right now, that is a really nice step. Now I wanted to show you the next step. Right here, I have a rock that we've been using every single time we come down here. And notice I found a piece of cedar that I cut from the previous, so I just throw that in. Any scraps, anything in there, cedar's gonna last forever. That's why I'm using cedar. And so this rock we've been using. So I'm gonna use that rock because it's kind of become a joke as we've gone down this hill. We slip slide all the way down the hill and we're like, oh, jump! Finally, we land on this rock and we breathe a breath of fresh air. So I'm gonna leave this joke. Okay, here's a nice piece of cedar. Gonna pile it right there. That's all we're doing. I just need filler. I'm gonna put filler in here. And once I get the filler where I want it to be, then I put dirt. It's much easier to use big pieces. There's some rocks, more rocks, and more rocks. If you don't have rocks, that's fine. You can use dirt. Dirt stamps down really well. Rocks just fills in the space a little bit better. Okay, now, since there's a rock here, I already have a piece I cut over there. And I'm going to take that piece that's small and just stick it right there. So I'll be right back. Now, I said I was using cedar, but in some cases, what I've done was there's some trees here that's fallen down. There's a couple trees. I don't know what kind of tree this is, but this is solid tree that's been there very long. And so we've used this tree for a couple steps. So this tree seems to be really good because it's been here forever. It's got a little bit of mold on it, but it is so strong, so solid. And so I'm going to use this smaller piece to work in conjunction with this rock here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it right here. Now, instead of just putting it there and trusting the dowels, what I like to do is I know where I'm going to put it right there. So I put this here, mark how wide it is, and then all I do is I just put a little bit of dirt. I don't pry out much. It's just a place so I can set the log on. I don't want to go too deep because I'm going to fill it in up above. So I just did that, nice and simple. Take the log, slam it in. Because the dirt is loose, it actually fits in there pretty well. And I'm not going to trust that completely. So here are my dowels that I have taken. I just cut off every tree because we're trimming trees. And so I'm finding dowels. Here's one. Hopefully there are not any rocks in there. And towards the thin side, kind of the same size. So I'm gonna stick this, stick this in here. Hopefully this goes well. I noticed it goes in soft, and then there's a point when it starts there. It starts getting nice and solid. That's the good point. That's the point where it makes me feel a little more comfortable about this dowel. Because that's a big log, it's going to be a lot of weight on that. So I'm looking for a bigger dowel. And here's one. That's a pretty good size. And I'm going to kind of tap that up a little bit. Where's the fat end? Can't even tell. Oh. I don't feel like these dowels are hitting a nice solid point, and that one is, you kind of hear it, how it sounds differently. That's nice and solid. If I don't feel comfortable with that, I'll put another dowel right there. Now that that's like that, all I have to do is take this dirt here, and since this is a bigger step than this small one here, then I'll probably draw from up here too. So I just take this right underneath the step, pull it down. This is a small step. This is smaller than usual. That's okay. There's no need to be perfect. That's what's kind of nice about this. So, I'm just dragging. The root, and that's okay. Step down. Oh, see, I just found a little gap. Those dowels are holding nice and strong. And that feels so good. And a little hole filled in, opened up right there. So I'm just going to take it, pull it over, and I'll step on that in a minute. There's a rock. I'll put the rock in the gap. Stamp it down. That's how you do a step. We're building more steps in our trail.
Rock Creek Trail.
The Rock Creek Trail. And I wanted to bring out a little Bob Ross here. This is Keith, but his specialty is Bob Ross. So we have a strange looking log that we found. In fact, it happens to be a piece of a sassafras tree.
It's a happy little log.
It's a happy little log. And we were trimming off the bark, and it smells wonderful like root beer. That's what sassafras is.
Yes.
And we have this curve, and then also right down there we have a knot that's sticking out. And so what does Bob Ross say?
There's no mistakes, only happy little accidents.
So
we're gonna use the happy little stump and dig a little bitty hole for it to sit in. A little home.
a little home.
A little home for the happy little stump.
Maybe squirrels will someday.
Squirrels will live on the little sassafras root.
And then we're just setting that there.
And the rock came out.
Oh, there's a rock there?
Yeah.
So now we're just setting it right in the hole.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't have to dig in there perfectly because we're going to put dowels around it still. But now, that accident is going to help this actually be stronger. And now this curve, because usually everyone wants to build everything and they want it to be perfectly straight and all that.
We're not building the piano, we're just building the trail.
And the curve actually adds some personality to this situation. Okay, so now what we're doing is we just dug out a little trench. And what are we doing next, Keith?
Now we got to put some dowels in behind it.
We're going to put in some dowels. And we've collected some dowels already. And
something like that. And maybe that one.
And here's our
hammer-ish. And I'm going to go up here behind the root.
Oh,
or the vine.
We also have a vine. We're using the vine not as a support, but more as almost a decorative piece or a guide.
Like a guide. Ouch.
And we love the vines. While he's doing that, we have vines on this trail that is just absolutely beautiful. And like right there around this tree, you see those vines going up? The vines are a nice memory because when we were kids, we would see these vines. I don't know how we're still alive, but we'd see vines up in a tree kind of like that, and we would kind of yank on it, pull it, and if it was strong enough to support us just for like 3 seconds,
3 seconds, and then oh, that's good enough.
we would cut it, and then we would climb up the hill and just swing down. And only one kid broke his wrist. Of all the many people that swung on the vines, we only had one happy accident.
There was a happy little accident.
But
We laughed.
We swung a lot.
Yes, it was. We'd get 2 or 3 days out of that one vine before it broke. I
Yeah.
think that's why he broke his wrist.
And usually when they would not just snap though, they would slowly unravel down, and then we would swing out and it would just slowly lower us down, and we're like, oh
There was
crap.
never a crash. Yeah.
He just happened to slip off, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it wasn't the vine that broke, actually.
No, it was actually his fault.
So maybe Tarzan. I was always wondering, because since we played on vines, Tarzan would just go from one vine to the other. And
We never found that.
no, we looked. I searched.
We looked.
We made the sound.
Yes.
Plenty.
Yes, we made the sound a lot.
Okay, so you got the dowels in.
2. I think I'm gonna put 1 in the middle.
All right, because what he was paying attention to was when you hit the dowel in, there's a point when it meets really solid dirt, and the
That
sound changes.
That one made it.
That one did.
That one did not.
That one did not. So
Just now.
when we don't, we want to have another one, because this, I don't know if you can tell, but this is quite a steep hill. Okay, I'm just going to turn around, and I'm looking straight forward right here, and it's just a steep hill, and so people are going to come down this trail and go, oh, then slam and stop right there on these steps. So we definitely want to make them strong.
And this one is another happy little accident. Didn't really make that sound, but it's there.
All right, so we probably need to go get more longer dowels.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how we do a step. That's how we take advantage of our happy little accidents. Now we're coming up on the very long, steep hill. When we first made the trail, this was slip sliding all the way down. I don't even know if you can tell how steep it is, but I'm holding the camera straight now, and we can't even see the bottom. So now we ended up building steps. And if you counted these steps, there's actually 27 of them. And to make it a little more interesting walking up the steps, so you're not thinking about how tired you are going up through all these steps, we could sing the alphabet song. And here, this area has a bunch of trash that was thrown in here by previous owners about 55, 60, 65, 70 years ago. I don't know what it was, but people used to just throw trash down a hill in the forest. So our next project is to clean all this trash up. So if you see tires or things and whatever in the video, that's what you'll see. We found some old car taillights, and we decided to just maybe use them. We may take them out later, but now when we look up to those taillights from down here, it kind of looks like some eyes looking out to the forest. See, it's kind of fun. Here are all the steps we built, and we just put in dowels behind the log. Right here. Put in dowels behind the log, and then filled in the dirt and just leveled it out. If we found curvy pieces, we just used them. We weren't looking for perfection, we were actually looking to use the natural landscape of this area. And many times we came down here, we would land on rocks before the steps, and so we incorporated them, like the small step right here. When we came down slipping and slide, we'd always land on this rock and go, oh, okay, we're safe. We'd pause at that rock. And this place here, we'd walk across. We'd get right there. It's a little bit flat. we'd rest and savor that we survived slipping down this hill, and then we'd slowly walk across, and then we'd look down and we'd go, okay, got to get to that rock right there. And then the next step was, there's a rock right here in the center, and then after we got to that rock, then we're at the bottom. So here are our steps. Looking up. That didn't take as long as we expected it to take. My brother Keith and I banged these out in a day. Actually, just like 3 or 4 hours. Other people could have done it a lot faster. I'm just super anal, super picky, and I always make things difficult. Here's our steps.